As far as tourist taxes go, Venice is at the forefront. Great cities in Europe ought to do the same. It is only right that visitors pay for the preservation of such old sites, since seeing them is a luxury that frequently makes living there unpleasant. Venice is over it. It feels that charging tourists to enter will help it repel the twin attacks of tourism and the sea, which are causing it to sink. It's not by itself. There is a threat to tourism. Seville's main Plaza de España requires a fee to enter. The Mona Lisa in Paris is going to be sent to a basement because she is being pestered by flashing phones to such an extent. Rome and Amsterdam both want an end to coach parties. The payment to Venice will be difficult. Only day visitors to the city centre will be covered at certain entry points. Hotel guests will not be covered. It will only cost €5 and only be available during the summer's busiest hours. This will barely be enough to pay for its upkeep. This is a political ploy that is unlikely to stop tourists from flocking to St. Mark's Square and the Rialto, much less provide Venetians greater space to enjoy their city without disturbance from crowds. Large portions of Venice are devoid of Venetians, as any visitor to the city will attest. Since the early 1950s, the main island has lost more than 120,000 inhabitants. Canals and streets are barred. The main reason the Grand Canal is lit up at night is because of Airbnb. There are 40,000 tourists per day in this tiny but crowded tourism area. €5 will not stop those who have made the trouble to get to Venice. Venice's economy failed and the city realized its future prosperity rested on its antiquity, which is partly why the city survived intact. Authors like Jan Morris and James Cameron considered their melancholy joy at being the final generation to see Venice before it vanished when it started to sink in the 1960s. The sea is rising and the iron rods beneath the foundations are rotting and rusting even though the lagoon has now been dammed. They need to be fixed, and only visitors will be able to afford the high costs. For more than 50 years, Americans have been the most frequent visitors to Europe. At least 43% of them own passports. Just 10% of Chinese people and 7% of Indian people possess such documents. Many of the European tourist destinations would need to come up with new strategies to handle the influx of visitors from these two countries alone, if that is what they were doing prior to the COVID-19 pandemic. These days, protecting and figuring out how to manage Europe's cultural treasures is more important than promoting its wonders. The first of these challenges is Venice. The approximately 49,000 surviving Venetians are unable to afford their city's redemption. 30 million tourists in Venice are able to. The admission fee is only the beginning.